Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the gentlewoman for her recognition, and I want to recognize her as a great leader on the matter before us today. This legislation, the America Competes Act, is something that has come to the fore largely because of the investments that she has made over the years in science and technology, keeping America competitive, now as the chair of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair, Eddie Bernice Johnson, for the intellect that you have brought to this, the reputation that you have enjoyed in the scientific and academic community in support of your legislative initiatives, and this bill being a highlight of it all. Madam Speaker, America has long been a beacon of excellence in science and engineering in the world, forging innovations that have been transformative for workers, businesses, and for our economy. By investing in education and research, we were preeminent. We have been preeminent in the world arena. But a number of years ago, maybe 20, maybe longer, other countries followed our blueprint. They followed our lead. They invested in education and recognizing the value of investment in research and new technologies. And now they threaten our position as world leader in science and innovation. We've been seeing that over time. The inputs of the technologies that we rely on each day and those that will take us into the future must be made here in America, or else we will be at the mercy of those other countries, driving up costs for American families and eroding our global competitiveness. This situation is a challenge to the economic security of our country, the financial security of our families, and the national security of our nation. And it must be met head-on with bold strategic action that seizes the opportunities for progress. Today, the House is seizing that opportunity in passing legislation that meets the moment by securing the preeminence of American manufacturing, innovation, and economic strength with the America Competes Act. To be preeminent in technology and innovation, it is essential that America becomes self-sufficient in the manufacture of critical goods. Competes will do this and transport our nation into the future by first supercharging our investment in chips. Semiconductors are a key component of everything from defense systems to computers to cars to your personal phone, Madam Speaker. Electric cars contain hundreds of chips, electric cars thousands. Chips are the lifeblood of modern technology. But over the past 30 years, America's global share of manufacturing semiconductors has been outpaced by other countries, leaving us dependent on those countries and vulnerable to their supply chains, which drive up cost and at home and for Americans. Competes directs $52 billion for Chips for America Act. There's a Chips for America Act, and that's contained in this bill, which will address supply chain disruptions that push up cost for families, bring back chips production to America, and ensure that U.S. leads the way on semiconductor fabrication. Specifically, Madam Speaker, the bill provides financial assistance to incentivize investments in facilities and equipment for semiconductor fabrication assembly, testing, advanced packaging, and research and development. This is very specific and very well thought out. Secondly, this Competes advances manufacturing at home in our country and strengthens our supply chains. The pandemic has exposed the vulnerabilities of global supply chains that rely on other countries. We need to be making goods in America with American workers. The American Competes Act authorizes $45 billion to support the manufacture and acquisition of critical goods or industrial equipment that are essential for national security and economic vitality, including components and products for public health and biological preparedness, very important. Information and communications technology, energy and transportation sectors, industrial base, and agriculture and food product supply chains. That affects everyone in our country. Competes reduces our reliance on critical goods from countries of concern, and encourages the relocation of manufacturing facilities out of those countries. And it supports the creation of jobs with competitive wages, including by preserving existing collective bargaining agreements and supporting union organizing efforts. Third, I remind you that 1 and 2 were about supercharging our investment in chips, and 2, advancing manufacturing at home and strengthening supply chains. 3, Competes advance America's scientific research and innovation excellence to ensure that we lead the technologies of the future. It includes a suite of bipartisan science, research, and technology bills to turbocharge American innovation, focused squarely on producing solutions and results. I reiterate, a suite of bills that have been bipartisan in committee and on the floor of the House. And it maximizes the American talent pool by strengthening and diversifying our nation's STEM workforce. This is very important because we want many more people, women, people of color, other previously underrepresented communities to be part of this. And fourth, Competes promotes U.S. global leadership, ensuring that the 21st century is the American century, positioning the interests and values of the United States to win on the world stage. And there are competitors for that honor. Central to Competes is the strong action taken to hold the PRC accountable for its trade abuses, which hurt U.S. workers, and for its human rights violations, including the genocide against the Uyghurs. People have to understand the connection between human rights violations and fairness to American workers. Actually, what is happening in China with the Uyghurs is beyond a human right. It's genocide to the nth degree. This use of forced labor, which they are doing with the Uyghurs, is immoral and horrific, yes. And it hurts U.S. workers who have to compete with slave labor. So understand human rights and fairness to our workers, human rights there and fairness to our workers here are connected. The House bill reflects a rigorous, comprehensive process of listening to the experts and crafting legislation that will truly rise to this challenge. And I thank Madam Chair for your doing that. You and, 11 committees have fed into this legislation. So I know that we've heard from many of the chairs in the debate today, and we'll hear from many more members as we go into the amendment process. But I want to congratulate you, Madam Chair. Well over 100 research and scientific institutions have already endorsed this bill, or its key components, from academic institutions, including the American Association of American Universities and dozens of top research universities, including the Ivy League and including University of California system. Leading scientific groups such as American Association for the Advancement of Science, American Nuclear Society, American Mathematical Society, American Society for Engineering. Top innovation firms and business groups, the Chamber of Commerce, the Semiconductor Industry Association, the National Association of Manufacturers, and companies like Intel who invest in these chips. Groups representing American workers, and this is very important, groups representing American workers led by the AFL-CIO, and I mentioned the Teamsters who write, on behalf of America's supply chain union, they call themselves, I applaud the House Democratic leadership for moving forward with their own legislation that addresses the critical issues of competing with China in a way that benefits U.S. working families for many years to come. I agree with President Biden, their statement says, that America Competes will bring manufacturing jobs back home to this country and make America's supply chains more resilient. Competes is built on bipartisan bills many of which have already passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan margins, my colleagues, overwhelming bipartisan margins. And that includes the National Science Foundation for the Future Act, the Department of Energy Science for the Future Act, Rural STEM Education Act, Open RAN Outreach Act, Future Networks Act, Strengthening America's Strategic National Stockpile Act, and many more. In closing, I just want to say the American Peace Act recognizes and meets the challenges of the 21st century, ensuring that America cannot just compete, but must win in the global landscape. Reckoning what I said in the beginning, we were in the lead. We set a good example for the world. Others followed our lead and became competitive with us. So a vote for this bill would be a vote for making more American goods here in America with American workers. A vote for this bill would strengthen our supply chains and lower costs for families. And forceful action, it would bring forceful action to assure that America, not the People's Republic of China, but America, writes the rules of the road for the 21st century. With that, I urge a strong bipartisan vote for the American Competes Act and for ensuring the global preeminence of America's manufacturing for America's workers and the American economy and our security now and for years to come. Again, with congratulations to Chairwoman Eddie Bernice Johnson and other chairs who worked so hard to bring this very important legislation to the floor and to the fore. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.